Today on Crazed Performance Repair, we are continuing with part 2 of the 1966 Pontiac Tempest 326 engine build. If you have not seen part 1, be sure to check that out before watching this. This is continuing that process. First thing I'm going to do is show you guys what the final product was with the cylinder heads and its advantages, and then we will get into frost plug install, bearing clearancing, and then I will go ahead and put a link above when I get to the point of the rope seal install for a more detailed rope seal install video. Otherwise, this video will take too long. So stay tuned and let's get rolling with this video. Okay, so I have the cylinder head here, and I have it in process of doing the port situation where I'm just doing a real simple, basic, it's not actually porting, it's more like opening the chamber, but I'm only doing the low speed adjustment. I have the tape in place, I have not ground anything, and the tape is right here. Now I highly recommend doing this before machining the heads if anyone were to attempt it, but obviously I had the heads machined already. I was hasty to get the heads machined, but anyway. So we have the tape here. This is the first grind, and I use this because it's a cast iron head, and I just kind of run it there real gently and just take my time. So this is what the first grind that I make. This is the second and final grind that I make. Now when I do that one, I use this guy here, and I start at an angle like this. I hit really close to there, then I tip it. I work a little bit there, I go like that, and I just kind of real cautiously and smoothly round this off so it creates a nice rounded contour. Okay, now I'm not sure how well you can see this looking at it. So the valve, when it first opens, it's right there, right? Now, it's not going to get past there. It's going to actually shoot this direction rather than following the curve and going this way because it hits that wall right there, this little edge, and that's why I'm modifying this little section. So now you can see if I have it open a little bit, now it can come this direction no problem because all this material has been removed here. So now the low speed can properly do its job, come around and wipe this side of the piston clean of all its debris, and then go out the exhaust. Alright, as you can see, I have the block here. I've moved it into this room so I can assemble it in this room because of the other vehicle I am working on. I will have a video on that as well. Okay, now, so this hole here is a frost plug hole. There are several of these. There are some for oil passages. There's some for the cooling system, like this one. This goes into the cooling water jacket area. And you want to replace those whenever you do a motor build on something that's relatively old. Like this is significantly old. But you get a frost plug kit. Now, there's a brass kit available. It's a little bit better quality. It won't rust out on you. This thing's not going to see the corrosion, really, so I'm not too concerned about it. We're just going to go ahead and put the cheaper steel ones in. Now, it comes as a kit, so it comes with, on this particular motor, not only the ones for the cooling system, but it comes with these as well. Now, these, I believe, go inside... I believe they go inside the ports by the cam on the back of the motor here, and they go in before any kind of frost plug. Yeah, the front of the motor has just little frost plug caps, so we just put these little guys in there and then we'd be done with that. But I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how to install one of these frost plugs. So basically you need like an installer kit like this. Normally you're supposed to put a bolt here, but with a frost plug you can't do that because then the bolt would be on the back of the frost plug. But you set it in there like that, and that's how you're going to get it started. One of the things people forget though is to be sure to put some kind of sealer on it. Now this, being an old school motor, I'm using an old school, old reliable Forma gasket sealer. It's kind of like this black tarry, just nasty stuff. It's thin at first, but when it's dried out, it gets really tarry and thick. And so all I do is I put a little bit of that inside here, and then a little bit of it around here. Now I put less on here than I did there. The thing with this stuff is putting it here, when you push this thing in, it's going to push it to the inside. You know, you're trying to seal from the inside out. You don't want it to come out. So putting it here will create a nice thick barrier of sealant on that one side. So you don't need it very thick on this.
I just put it on there for good measure. You want it thicker on the inside of the block. So that's why I put it on the block really thick and heavy. Now all I'm going to do is I'm going to get it started with a decent hit. Okay, but it's crooked. So I'm going to have to take this guy, find out where it's crooked. There it goes. Okay, so now it has straightened itself out. I'm going to go ahead, put this in here in the center again, and then I'm going to give it some nice solid wax. Now I'm going to soften it up because I'm getting close. And once it's flush, in the highest point it's flush, then you go ahead and stop. Now you see this is dripping, so I'm going to go ahead and wipe the drips up. And then I'm going to continue installing the rest of them, and you guys will be right back. Well, as you can see, we are at the bottom of the motor now. We are working with the main side of things. So what we're going to do is we're going to check some bearing clearances. But before we put the crankshaft in there, I have to clean the crankshaft out because the machine shop that grinds the crank doesn't clean the crank out. They put a nice fancy label on there. It says, "This crankshaft must be cleaned and inspected before assembly." So that's what we are going to do. We're going to clean it up, make sure there's no nicks in it, and then we're going to go ahead, set it down, and start clearancing things. Alright, we have the crank here. It's definitely got metal on it. There's lots of metal on it. It's kind of all over the place. So I have to clean it out. I'm going to use Q-tips for the ports. I'm going to use air to blow everything off, and brake clean and rags on the flatter surfaces. So let's go ahead and get started, get this thing cleaned up. First step I'm going to do here, spray it down with some brake clean, get it nice and wet. I'm just going to make sure that I break anything free while it's on the nice brake clean that will keep it dried out and keep it from sticking. Because with oil, the debris will end up sticking to the crank. But with brake clean, it won't be able to stick once I hit it with air. Alright, that is the pre-clean. Now I gotta do the more detailed stuff. I'm gonna spray a little in the hole for the oil galley here. And that goes to oiling the rods from the main. I'm gonna run a Q-tip through it. I normally would have like a little plastic tube brush for this, but I don't have one with me right now. So I'm just gonna go and use 2 Q-tips with this round. I'm gonna try a double Q-tip here, see if I can do that. It doesn't work exactly. I got 2 sizes of Q-tips here. I have these monster things that are too big, and then I have the little ones and they're too small. So I don't know, I kind of took one and I moved the fuzz around to kind of make it work. I mean, it works, I guess, but it's not like, maybe I can combine the two. Either way, it's not ideal. Ideally, I would have a brush that would actually fit. I'm actually going to do this number. Give it a little brake clean to run it through. There. Look at this one. That thing is filthy now on both ends. Oh, there it is. I was like, where's the Q-tip? I know I had one in there. Alright, so that's the first pass on these 2 with the Q-tip. The top one I don't think I need to do again, but I'm going to go ahead and run it through twice, this dirty one, through all the ports to break everything free. And then I'm going to go ahead and do another pass once I get that done. I'm going to try something here. I got the leftover from the other one. I'm just going to wrap this. Maybe I'll do it with a rag. That'll work. That'll do it. Just go like this. Like if I were using my, I don't want to get demonetized, my toy cleaning kit for my Pew Pew toys. Yeah, I don't want to get demonetized, so I'm not going to say the word. But I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. That actually worked really good going through there. That's what I get to do. I'm going to use rags. That works way better than trying to strip down the Q-tip. Okay, let's get this one down then. Ooh, that one had a lot of metal in it. Yikes. Alright, just for you guys here, I'm going to brand new piece of rag and a, well, let's start with I'll use a new Q-tip just so that you guys can see. It's perfectly white on both ends. I'm going to go ahead, throw this guy on there, and then I'm going to shove this nice white Q-tip into this last, I think, yeah, that's the last passage. Into the last passage here, and do one good pass through it, just to show you guys how dirty these things are. So look at how filthy that is. That's just one pass with the Q-tip on the rag. So yeah, you definitely have to clean those ports out after you get it back from the machine shop. Otherwise, your engine will self-destroy. So just keep that in mind. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and do a little brake clean in those ports with the air. Now that I have done that, I'm going to save a little bit of this rag for the last step, but I might need a little more. Not that much more. Holy crap. Did not want that much. Alright. But I'm going to take this part of the rag here. So now we're just going to go for a nice, good wipe down of the crank. Actually, I'm going to show you something. Nice and white right there, right? Now, you already saw me blow the crank off. Look at that. You can see my handprint from wiping it just that one time. So you have to wipe this down. I mean, just doing the brake clean is not good enough. There is not enough cleaning involved there. You have to actually physically wipe it down. I mean, you saw me hit it with the brush, hit it with the air, hit it with the brake clean, and it still was not enough. So keep that in mind. It still needs a substantial amount of cleaning. No matter what I do, I will not get this thing perfectly clean, but at least I will have for surely all the large chunks that might cause damage taken out of there. Any of the micron size stuff will be filtered out in the oil filter. But all a guy can do is do his best to get as clean as possible. It's still going to be better than probably what the factory sends out, so it's all good in reality. As long as you give it an attempt at cleaning, you're going to do a better job than most engines are, because the specs suck so bad from the factory. Alright, give you guys an idea here. You can see this side of the rag. This is the not wiped on side. This is the wiped on side. So it is pretty darn nasty. It's just full of debris. I may even go over this again off camera, just for good measure. But it is going to be clean enough the way it is, except for the oil holes. I want to hit those one last time before I shut you guys off, and then I'm going to go ahead and get you back to the motor and let's do some more assembly. Let's speed through this first though. A little more cleaning. Just want to make it nice and spotless. Spotless. One more step. And go ahead and rotate this guy in there. Get these counterweight holes cleaned out from balancing. That one had quite a bit in it. Boy, I'm glad I decided to do that. I almost forgot to clean those. Well, you guys get the point. I'm going to go ahead and wipe this down one more time, run through these holes one more time, and when you guys come back, I will already be putting the crank in. Alright, you can see that, I don't want to lean against that. You can see that I have the Plastigage in place, and I laid it out under all the caps. I just left this one so I can show you the Plastigage here. I have the little piece of paper here. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to take these rod caps, main caps, put the main caps on, tighten them down, and then I'm going to take it apart and see what the Plastigage shows for clearance. Once I know what the clearance is, then I can go ahead and put some assembly lube on and check the end play on the crank and make sure that I have the proper end play in the thrust bearing for the crankshaft here. So first things first, let's get the crank clearance checked with the Plastigage. Now, a lot of people are against Plastigage. I have an episode specifically on how to go through or what I feel, how I feel about Plastigage and where I stand on it and the procedures and precautions I take to make sure I properly use it and don't have any inconsistencies when I use it. And I will throw the link to that video above. Alright, so I have the clearances here. I am checking them now, taking a peek here. I see one that's got a little extra. They got metric on one side, standard on the other. Okay, so the biggest clearance I have looks like 2 thousandths. It's actually about what it is for the entire works, except for this one. This one's a little tighter than 2. It's almost 1.5 thou. So this one's the tight one, and that's still plenty loose. It's still got plenty of room for the oil to work around in there. So now I have to clean this off. The thing I found to work best for cleaning off the Plastigage material is actually WD-40, and I just put a little on a rag, and then I scrub the crank with the WD-40. And then I also use it on the bearing as well. I kind of use my fingernail and the rag at the same time to clean it off. Alright, you can see I have the assembly grease on here now. I'm going to go ahead and throw all the caps in. I'm going to put the main caps back on now, and then I will get started on assembling the pistons and rods. Okay, so the mains are on now, and I have a dial indicator here. It's on 0 now. I think it's close, but I'm going to show you how I actually make sure it's 0. Now, I lubed up the bearings. It's the wrong approach to finding clearance on that thrust washer. You want typically between 4 and 8 is a really good number. But what I'm going to do to make up for the fact that I have grease in there is I'm actually going to stress that bearing. I'm going to apply a little stress to it to put it at 0 on the gauge. So what I do is I just take and I find me a nice little sweet spot that I can pry on. Okay, so it's going 1/1000 when I do that. So I'm going to set the gauge at 0 now. And then I'm going to go to this side. And I'm going to pry on this side. There's the slop. There's the cushion. So we have a minimum of 4 thousandths. And that's assuming there's no grease. And a maximum of 6 thousandths. So we are perfect. I mean, it couldn't get any better than that. That is an awesome clearance to have. I mean, I could really squish this thing and just crank the clearance out of it, but it's not practical. So we are sitting really well. We have a maximum of 7 thousandths of clearance. We may have 8 at the absolute most, if that. But that's like claiming that grease is pieces of metal practically. So we have approximately 6 thousandths clearance. We should be set. This thing is tits on the money there. So I'm going to go ahead and put my dial indicator away. And I'll throw a link to this tool. Somebody asked me for this tool. I will link this one in this video at least. Well, I hope you liked the video. I have to do a little bit more prepping on this engine yet. I'm still finishing things up, as you can see, but I did not want the video to go on forever. So, if you liked it, make sure to hit the like button, like, share, subscribe, and as always, I hope to see you on another video. Thanks for watching.